Partial funding for the production of New Mexico in Focus provided by the McCune Charitable Foundation.
This week on New Mexico in Focus, we present an encore presentation of our interview with Game of Thrones author George R.R. Martin.
I'm using the synapses in my brain that most people use for remembering real people, to remember all these characters.
And it's our first show of 2015. We ask our special all-journalist line panel to weigh in with their predictions for the coming year. New Mexico in Focus starts now. We're back with our all-journalist line panel. They've counted down the top stories of 2014 over the past 2 weeks. Now, we ask them to look ahead and predict what the biggest stories might be in 2015. And we offer up an encore presentation of our interview with George R.R. Martin, the man behind the novels A Song of Ice and Fire that became the hit HBO series Game of Thrones. NMIF producer Megan Kemrick sits down with Santa Fe native Lisa Venna-Clausen, who was honored recently in her hometown and with a prestigious Human Rights Award for her work advocating for women worldwide. But we begin tonight with the man behind Essence magazine. Ed Lewis almost didn't make it to New Mexico. The New York native got a football scholarship to UNM, but his plane, the first he'd ever boarded in his life, had an engine fire in midair. Luckily, he arrived safely and went on to complete his studies and went on to found Essence magazine in 1969. His new biography, The Man from Essence, chronicles his extraordinary career, which we discussed from our one-on-one segment.